Hi, good evening, everybody, and welcome to Surani Sembang, our episode number 7. So, I've been at this for the last 7 weeks, and I'm really glad to have you join me. Yes, this is a live webcast. Surani Sembang, our episode number 7. So, I've been at this for the last 7 weeks, and I'm really glad to have you join me. Yes, this is a live webcast. Surani Sembang, our episode number 7. So there's a little bit of a goof up, something happening. Yes, this is a live webcast. Okay, so what happened there, you may ask? Well, what happened was my YouTube channel was on, and suddenly I went into a loop kind of thing. So here I am in my home, in my little broadcast center, and I've got 3 other people lined up to meet with us. One of them is, in fact, 2 of them are retired executive producers in the world of media. And this is because today we are actually celebrating the 39th anniversary of MTV, the MTV channel. I don't know whether you remember in 1981, on the 1st of August, 39 years ago, MTV was launched. And MTV's first song that they played was Video Killed the Radio Star. And as I had mentioned before in previous weeks, I use the dates to give me creative prompts. And then I thought, because it's the 39th anniversary of the MTV channel and of the song that was Video Killed the Radio Star, why don't I bring on some people who work in media and to talk about how things have changed. And among the people I have are 2 retired executive producers, 2 wonderful Surani women, a young Surani guy who is still in production, doing stuff for online media. And we also have a pre-recorded segment of somebody whom I feel was quite perfect for this particular episode because he was involved in creating a music video involving one of our best Malaysian classics, Kau Ilhamku, where he got together a huge group of Malaysian celebrities, including people like Man Bai, who was the original singer. The song is Kau Ilhamku, and with even Siti Nurhaliza, as well as Jacqueline Victor, and they did an amazing rendition of Kau Ilhamku. Very glad to have had him, and I've actually put it on the Surani Sembang page on Facebook. For those who may not have known of this particular piece of music. I think it's fabulous. And I think Russell Curtis himself, the composer and the arranger, has been kind of like morphing with the media scene. He's been doing really well in terms of really getting his act together and on the latest media. Like, he was one of the first Malaysian performers to actually have a webcast from his home during the MCO, and he actually sold tickets. So I talked to him in the interview, and he tells us how it all happened and why it all happened and stuff like that. So, but that's later on. Nick Lazarou is going to join me, but I don't see him in the broadcast center, so I don't know where he's gone. There you are.
I've always been here, Vernon.
Okay, hi, so you were listening. Okay, hi. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm great. So, Nick, tell me, what are you doing these days?
These days, detailed answer, a lot of pre-recorded launch videos for car clients, automotive clients.
So you used to be, well, you still are a film director, but you've moved into the area of online, you could say webcasting even, right? Creating video for the online channel, right? And who do you work for?
I work for a place called Driven Communications. They are also the company that owns paultan.org, the Malaysia's #1 automotive website.
Okay. In order to bring in our next guest, I want to tell you how you got into becoming a film video director. Because the next guest is kind of like has to take the blame for it, right?
Yes, she does. In a way, she does, yes. I stumbled into film directing specifically. I stumbled into that by chance.
Right.
I was promoted from a production assistant to a first assistant director by a film director, a senior film director called Justin Woon. He was my mentor for the next 5 years, and I graduated myself into film directing once I felt that I had learned enough and was ready to fly the coop or jump out of the nest.
Okay.
So, yeah.
And what exactly, inspired you to do film? I mean, like, was MTV part of that journey?
No, not really per se, because I didn't grow up watching a lot of MTV. I grew up watching a lot of cartoons like anybody else during my time. But yeah, it was a very interesting place to be in.
Okay, the film industry or MTV?
The film industry. It was a lot more exciting to be rubbing against pretty models as opposed to being stuck in a radio studio.
Okay, so it might have been radio that you would have done.
Maybe. Could have been, yeah. Okay. There's a strong 40% chance.
Because you did broadcasting at KDU, right?
Mass communication, to be more specific, and it's a diploma, so you get a little bit of everything. Okay,
so when you graduated, this person got you into the scene. So we'll bring her on. Okay?
Okay, I'll run and hide now. Hi. Hello, Jennifer.
Hi, Jennifer.
Hi, guys.
Jennifer is a retired executive producer from a film company called Filmbase when you retired, which was your own company. Before that, you used to work with Joe Hesham and Associates, correct?
Correct, yes, that's right.
Okay, and now, when you started with Joe Hesham and Associates, you actually probably knew about this next person I'm going to bring on, okay, who was kind of like, like an institution in her own right?
She was, yes, I knew of her.
Perhaps maybe the first Serrani woman to get involved in production. Susan, are you there? I'm going to bring you on now. Hope you're decent.
Yes.
How are you, Susan?
Good, thanks.
Okay, so we've got 3 Serrani people here, right? From 3 generations of professionals in the video filmmaking, kind of like broadcasting environment. Okay, when did you first start, Susan? What year?
1979, I think, or thereabouts.
1979. Was Nick born then?
Nope.
I was wondering that as well.
1979. So that means when you got into film in 1979, 3 years later, MTV started.
Yep.
Was that exciting for you to see MTV?
Oh, absolutely. It had a big influence because, a lot of clients and agencies, they wanted it to be like this or like that, whatever. And we even shot a commercial, based on Michael Jackson's Black and White. And, I think Nick wouldn't even be able to imagine how we did it, shooting on film.
Yeah. That's quite interesting because towards the end of my career in mainstream advertising 5,000 years ago, I believe JHA did a Pizza Hut commercial of me also doing a parody on Michael Jackson, if I'm not mistaken. Maybe Jennifer remembers, maybe she doesn't. But yeah, it was like a long time ago. Okay, so anyway, what I'm going to do now, right, is I'm going to bring on a pre-recorded segment of this gentleman, right? You may or may not have heard of him. If you haven't heard of him, maybe you should go and look him up because he's really talented. His name is Russell Curtis, okay? And Russell Curtis and I did a pre-recorded segment earlier on. The reason why he's also part of this situation is, as I mentioned earlier, he actually created a music video, right, for the Yonder streaming music service for Celcom 5 years ago. And this is where he actually brought together some of the best Malaysian performers to do that song. So I'm gonna attempt to do to actually do the video now. Just a minute, yeah. Okay, let me see. I have to do oops, where did it go? Okay, let me do this here. I will play his Kau Ilhamku first. Yep.
Beribu bintang di langit kini menghilang, meraba aku dalam kelam.
Rembulan mengambang kini makin suram, udah ilhamku tanpa arah.
Sedetik wajahmu muncul dalam diam, ada kerdipan, ada sinar.
Itu kebintangan, kau pun rembulan. Terima kasih ku ucapkan.
Izinkan ku mencuri bayangan wajahmu.
Oh, oh, yeah.
Izinkan ku mencuri hayalan denganmu.
Maafkanlah, andai lagu ini mengganggu ruangan hidupmu.
Kau senyumlah, sekadar memori kita di arena ini.
Kau ilhamku,
Kau ilham,
you're my inspiration.
kau ilham,
You're my inspiration. You're my inspiration. When I was down, you picked me up. You're always there when times get tough. When push comes to shove, you give me strength, you got the stuff. Make me feel I'm good enough to carry on all that's love. It's an intense situation, but my predication is full inspiration from you.
ada dan tradisi cara lama, minat inti wenti berfikir sama. Aku sudah bangun hari lena, kulihat cahaya di hujung pena, tema hidup fenomena. Jadi berdiri lupa ke awan tertinggi, berlega di angkasa. Kenal tempatku di sini, lihat ku capai bintang sebelum balik ke bumi. Ku mencari apa yang mencariku. The thing is, if it made you, it should never break you. For those who paved the way, I'll be forever grateful. It ain't about who's better than who, whether it's you or me. We do it like the veterans do, without Biggie, Pac, Jigga, and Nas. We wouldn't have no J. Cole streaks and no Kendrick Lamar. Stars make me aim for the stars. Terima kasih too fat, kerana y'all made me make it this far.
Izinkan ku mencuri bayangan denganmu. Oh, oh. Izinkan ku mencuri hayalan denganmu. Maafkanlah,
Andai lagu ini mengganggu ruangan hidupmu.
And
Wow, what do you think? Amazing, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
nice spot.
Yeah,
Very.
I mean, like it's Sirti Nurhalisa, it's got Jacqueline Victor, it's well, Manbai kicks it off, and I think it's wonderful because he's the classic singer. And so we did this pre-recorded interview just now, so I'm going to play it now, and then I'll come back and we'll speak with Susan Menon first, followed by Jennifer Montero, and then come back to Nick. Okay, is that fine? So here I'm going to kick off the interview here. Let's see if it works. Gotta work. Of course, all this bit will be chopped off. That.
Slide is not really good.
Yes. Remove you out and remove me out. Okay, here we go. Oops.
Oops.
Good evening and welcome to Sarani Sitang. And this is, of course, a pre-recorded segment because our special guest is unable to make our live webcast. Well, this is me trying to be. Yeah. And I'm really, really very happy that he said okay at a very last moment, so to speak. But I'm so glad to have him because he fits in very much with the theme of the show, which is about the change of media landscape. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, please welcome Russell Curtis. Hi, Russell.
Hey, man. Hi, man.
How are you?
I'm good.
I'm mute. I keep doing this. Okay, that was the video of a pre-recorded segment with Russell Curtis earlier this evening. I'm stopping it there because the interview is actually 1 hour long and it'll be podcasted separately. Okay. Okay. So now what we're going to do is we're going to go with Susan Menon. I'm mute. I keep doing this. Okay, that was the video of where is that coming from? Russell Curtis earlier this evening. Where is that coming from?
Your YouTube again.
My YouTube again.
Probably.
No. Okay. Well, never mind.
No?
Yeah. Let's kind of stop. Okay. So let's go to. I'm going to remove Nick and Jen. If you could just go backstage for a bit, and I will talk with Susan, and then we'll bring you back later. Okay. Okay.
Right.
Take care of your throat, Jen.
Okay.
Yeah. Susan. So here we are, you and me, and the rest of the web world. Hang on, you've been muted. You see, I've got. Have you muted yourself? Hi, can you hear me?
Oh, can you hear me?
I can hear you now.
Okay.
Okay.
But I was saying that earlier, your pre-recorded interview with Russell, we couldn't hear a word.
Oh my God, seriously?
Yeah, we kept sending you chat messages, but yeah, I think you didn't see them.
Okay. Well, what I'll do is I'll have to
No worries. So we don't know
Okay.
what he said or what you said. Yeah.
Oh, okay, okay, very good. So what I'll do is I'll edit the main podcast, and then we'll pretend it never happened.
Okay.
Okay. Okay. So now let's kind of like go through your journey in the in terms of the media landscape that was
Right.
Malaysia. Yeah.
Right.
Yep, I'm gonna do this now. Susan Menon. Okay, Susan Menon. So, you're a Rosario, Pires, Pereira, and Johnson. Perhaps maybe you could tell us how so.
Well, my mom's mother, her parents, she's a Pires, yeah. Her parents were Placido Pires and Adelaide Pereira, who we call Ada Pereira, who's supposed to be from Singapore. And her sister married a Johnson. That's my grandmother's sister. Yeah, not my great-grandmother. Yeah,
Right.
so, I mean, there's a lot of people, but it's mainly Rosario and Pires.
And your dad is a Rosario from
No,
which part?
my dad is a Menon.
Sorry, your dad is a Menon. Your mom is a Rosario.
Yes.
Yeah. Yes. So your mom, Rosario from Malacca?
No. Father actually came via Trivandrum.
Okay, right.
Yeah. And the mother's parents, mixture of Filipino, Portuguese, Chinese,
Wow.
whatever.
Wonderful.
Yeah. On my
Very
father's side, I've actually got Japanese as well. And my father's father, we're still trying to trace, but there's some suspicion that it's to do with like Menons in Europe, M-A-N-E-N. They have
Okay.
that surname there. And
Right.
we were once told that he could have come from Armenia, but I haven't traced that yet.
Okay, so the Menon, like my mother's area, might be Armenian as well, but we're not sure. It might be also Spanish.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, and this is your maternal grandparents, the Pires side.
Yes. My grandmother and my grandfather. Yes.
Okay, with their eldest child, Veronica.
Yes.
Okay, and your mother, this Pires, your maternal grandparents. Okay.
So these are my mother's parents, and that's her eldest sister, Vera.
Okay, Vera. And this is your mom's family.
Yes, that's her seated on the extreme left after she had given birth to her second child.
seated on the extreme left, which would
Yeah,
be this one here.
Yes, next to her
Is that
father.
correct?
Yeah.
Right. Interesting. And these are your grandparents here.
In the center, yes.
What year was this?
This must have been 1950, I think. Oh no, 1949, because my older brother, who passed
Mhm.
away at 1.5, he was born in 49
Right.
and he passed away in January 1951. So
Right.
he was a baby in other pictures, from this photo shoot,
From this photo shoot.
he was a
Okay.
little baby, yeah. So I
Right.
think
So he
it's
was.
around 1949, somewhere along the way, yeah, because he was born in July, so maybe end 1949 or early 1950, yeah.
And this is in KL.
Yes, it's in Brickfields.
Okay.
The road was called Jalan Khatijah, and it was
Yep.
just down the road from the Lido Cinema, which doesn't exist anymore.
Yep. Wow.
Yeah.
Brickfields.
Yes, and the houses are gone as well. So there was a row of houses there in Brickfields, yeah.
Right. Right. And your parents married and they lived there as well?
No, they didn't, because my dad worked for the PWD, so they had government quarters in Jalan Nakoda Yusof in KL.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Lovely. These are
Yeah.
your parents. Malay male had the marriage announced. Rosario Menon at St. John's
Yes.
Church,
Yes,
26th of April,
yes,
1947.
1947. That's right.
Right. Yeah. Okay. And okay, so now you've grown up. You actually went to. You've actually okay. Let's go back a little bit. So you grew up in Kuala Lumpur, and
Yes.
you get sent to ballet classes, I believe, right?
Yes, I wanted to go for classes and asked my mom, and she sent me. I was already doing piano lessons, and then I asked her, I wanted to go for ballet as well, which was, I think, quite difficult, because those days, having 4 children, not more than that, I can't imagine, how she managed with all the expenses, but she still sent me. And so I got involved in all sorts of, like performing in school and performing concerts and in musicals and pantomimes and all sorts of things lah. And then
Yeah.
television came along, and then we started dancing on TV. Ahmad American produced these wonderful shows based on black and white minstrels and Andy Williams and all that. So we had these variety shows, and we
Wow.
danced and
Okay.
were backup for people like Zain Azman and all that.
Right. Right. Okay. And this was before you went overseas to study, correct?
Yes.
So
The
you were
late
how old?
60s.
15 years. You were
The
like
late
15. 16?
60s, late teens lah.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
And then off you went to London to.
To study at the Royal Academy of Dancing. I did a 3-year teacher training course,
Right.
and yeah, that was wonderful, because I mean, like bumping into Dame Margot and all that, and seeing
Wow.
lots of performances, and I mean, like rubbing shoulders with these really famous people in the ballet world
Mhm.
at the academy. So it was really,
Right.
really fantastic. Yeah.
This would be
Then
the
I-
70s,
Yeah, 71 to 74, I was in London.
right? Yeah.
And I
Okay.
came back at the end of 74. Not adventurous enough to go dancing in Europe. A lot of my classmates did that, but I came back to teach, and I went into partnership with another friend. And then she got asked to choreograph for TV commercial, which
Right.
was being directed by a Singapore director called James Sebastian. So of course I tagged along, and I made myself useful, with talents, costumes, whatever, even did a backdrop and stuff like that.
Right.
And then that evolved into me becoming his production assistant. And there was a company that was formed by actually Maria Manado, her husband at that time, and Lim Kok Wing.
Oh,
And
okay.
James
Wow. Wing.
James was
Started-
also a director, And
Okay.
so we did some commercials and then a few documentaries. So I worked on
Okay.
that. Yeah. And then because of that, I got to know the people at Perfima.
Okay.
And then they asked me to do some freelance jobs for them, which I did. So, I learned a lot of things along the way. And after Perfima, Gopal Krishnan of Jemima, who I
Right.
knew from before, he said, "Hey, come and work for me." And I said, "Well, maybe in 6 months' time." And well, about 6 months later, I did go and work for him.
Right. Right.
And, yeah,
So
I went in there as a producer.
okay, so this now is perhaps the biggest film production company in KL, Malaysia at that time, right? Gopal's
One off lah. There was Gaia
one-off.
as well, of course. Yeah,
What was Gopal's film production company called?
Jemima.
Jemima.
Jemima Films. Yeah, however you
Yeah.
want to pronounce it.
Yeah. I remember hearing about Jemima Films in my early days in advertising. How big
Yeah.
was that studio? Was it kind of like, I mean, like, could you say that it was like being in Hollywood?
No. Not really.
How was
I
it
mean,
in Hollywood?
I don't think so. Yeah, things were so different then. Really different.
Yes.
When I was freelancing, for example, I'd borrow things and get locations and not pay anything. I even did makeup
Right.
for talents. It was really different. It was maybe some would say a bit amateurish, but it was fun, and we learned as we went along. Because we had
Right.
to do a lot of things hands-on, and yeah. So when I went to Jemima, was exposed to like working with foreign directors and doing bigger jobs, like MES jobs and things like that, And after that, I actually stopped for a while. I left for a while because a friend of mine wanted me to take over her ballet school when she went to New York to study
Right.
at the Master
Yeah.
Graham School. So for about
Yeah.
2 years, I was back to teaching ballet full time. And then Kumar, whom I had met at Jemima,
Yeah.
we decided to start a production house. And that's a
Okay.
shot of our little lounge where everyone used to hang out. Yeah.
You're looking like a
And
pop star there.
that's the 80s look.
All right. Yeah. Okay. And so yeah, you set up a little production house called RK Studio. I don't
That's
remember it
right.
being very little because it was perhaps maybe one of the first few production houses that started out right after the big boys.
No, there were others, I think so.
There were
Yeah,
others. Yeah.
Yes. And we were very fortunate that Kumar had freelanced after Jemima, and he had got to know quite a few people. And so I actually wrote letters to different agencies that he knew and told
Yeah.
them about our new setup. And wonderfully, Albert Lim of Leo Burnett gave us a job, because he liked Kumar's work. And that was
Right.
the Carlsberg, Carlsberg, come up to Carlsberg, the Long Cool Dane. It was actually a big job in those days.
Right.
And that was our first, which was amazing.
Jan, did you hear that?
Yes, I heard that. I mean, yeah, apart from the fact that he's my partner now, even in production, he used to give a lot of people, a lot of young directors, a lot of breaks actually in the industry. I mean, even when I brought in directors, Albert would always give them a opportunity to. Nice guy. That's why I'm with him.
Well, tell him I say hi.
I will. I'll send you your regards.
Haven't seen him for a long time.
Yeah, he's well.
Okay. Yeah, so that was an interesting kind of like a loop back to yeah. So then you get your first job, and what happens after that?
And then it just kept going. I mean, I think we were very lucky because Kumar was known for his technical expertise and also for his camera work. Yeah, so he was a cinematographer, lighting as well as directing, and so we didn't really have to market a lot. We were so fortunate; the jobs just came, and we just dealt with it. Yeah, one after another. Yeah.
how do you feel now about these days with the how things have changed? How filmmaking is so different? What are your feelings about it? What are your thoughts?
Well, when I talk about filmmaking of those days, I mean, it doesn't really interest many people anymore because everything is so much easier now with video and with the computers and everything. Those days, we really had to work things out. I mean, when you do special effects on film, you really have to know what you're doing. Otherwise,
Yeah.
you spend tons in the lab for them to go and mat things and fix things for you. So with Kumar, he knew how to plan the shot so that when we got to the lab, it was easy to put together. And so we saved, a lot of money. And it was really interesting. But nowadays, as I said, I mean, I have nieces who are doing computer animation and stuff like it's nothing, Whereas when
Yeah.
it first came up in the late 80s, we went to LA to go and attend SIGGRAPH, which is all about animation and stuff like that. And like Robert Abel was the big name then, and they did somebody did some animation with birds and fish and all. It was like wow, Whereas nowadays the kids can do it,
Yeah,
There's
yeah.
so many
And Robert
programs.
Abel and Associates were the people who actually did those Benson and Hedges
This
animations.
is the not sure which one, but he did the 7-Up commercial,
Yeah.
and that we were then awarded to reproduce for Asia, and that wasn't easy because all sorts of effects there. I mean, it looks when you watch it, it looks like so what nowadays. But in those
Yeah.
days, we really had to work things out, and he was very helpful in advising us, and it was great to be able to do that. Yeah.
I remember
Nowadays-
actually. I remember actually one of my very first TV commercials when I was working in advertising that RK Studios, your company, did for us, and
Yeah.
it was actually a sci-fi. It was actually a sci-fi commercial for Fujifilm.
Yes,
And,
and it was based on what
E.T..
is that? We use the hand. Yeah,
Yeah.
E.T.
E.T.,
Yeah.
it was based on ET, and it was actually quite magical how Kumar was able to create, this extraterrestrial experience on actually quite a small budget, but it looked stunning. Yeah, I mean, if I may say so myself, but yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, Kumar was great with that kind of stuff.
Yes. Special
Yeah.
effects, especially. Yeah. So that saw us through quite many years. But towards the end of the 90s,
Mhm.
everything started changing because a lot of video coming in and people cutting
Yeah.
budgets and people wanting things yesterday, which I couldn't
Right.
take. They come and tell me I need it yesterday, and I said, well, you should have called me last month. I think that's why I got a bit of a reputation for being a, what do they call me? Dragon lady. Because I would tell them things like that, And one job which was actually an amazing big job, huge job, which was like going to be like a TV series, for Benson Hedges. Unfortunately, in the end, it got rejected, but I had to fight and we got paid. Of course, I fought for every last cent. But in the beginning, how they're supposed to pay you 50% up front, and they were delaying, and we were like buying cars and modifying and all, because it was all about racetrack and racing and stuff,
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
And so one day I had enough, and I sent a fax those days, send them a fax saying, if you don't pay us by noon, I'm freezing everything. And the producer, the agency just flipped. She said, you dare do that? I said, why not? I mean, they can't expect us to keep paying for everything. We're doing work and they're not being fair,
Yeah. I've heard of horror stories like that. I think I'm going to once again add Jennifer in. Jen,
Yeah.
does it all sound
we
too familiar for you? When did you get into executive producing? Like what year precisely?
exactly producing. I kind of
90s.
yeah. God, it's all a blur. I joined in 1986, but I mean, like 7 or 9 years after Susan, and then
Yeah.
things started happening pretty fast for me.
Yeah.
And I had a stupid title known as executive production manager, which is a non-existent title in production. I guess they didn't really know what they wanted to do with me, because in JHA I was doing everything. I was doing admin, I was
Yeah.
doing
Yeah.
schedules, doing production work, doing producing, following up with agencies on quotes. So finally I realized that this is not on. If something were to happen with JHA, then I nobody would know where to. I mean, how would I apply for a job in what position?
Yeah.
So I went up to Joe and I said, look, you really need to give me a position that means something. And so I said, I'm willing to jump into my sneakers and jeans again and go start at ground zero to be just a producer.
Right.
But I was doing much more, because I was already executive producing in a way, taking agencies up lunch, getting jobs, hiring directors. And by then we had some partners, some investors. So he said, okay, let him think about it. And then he went back and so to make a long story short, my finance director didn't want to lose me as well, because I was doing part of that. So in the end, they just made me GM/EP.
Okay. Right.
Yeah.
So basically, it's very interesting, the two different routes that both of you came in through.
Yeah.
I mean, like for Susan, it was the front of the camera first, right? Because you were in
Correct.
TV shows.
Yeah.
And then, and
I also was in some TV commercials,
Yeah. So you came in, you came in through the glamorous routes, and Jennifer came in through the hard hat routes.
Not
Yeah, in a
really,
way.
Once the company started, it wasn't glamorous, lah.
Yeah.
True.
What I mean is that eventually, when you become an executive producer, you just gotta sweat it out with the rest of them, right?
Yep. But I think Susan had a better edge over me, because when you start from that end, you know more about the technical bits and stuff, So I always felt very insecure about not having that bit of training, like starting from a production assistant. And then when you start at ground zero, you work your way up, you know a lot of things. So I had to cheat my way through a lot of things, and probably got cheated along the way by especially DOPs who wanted a truckload of equipment, which I wasn't very trained in. So it had it's
the learning curve. Your learning curve was a bit steeper, perhaps. Yeah. But eventually you got there. Susan got there, and then our friend who's muted his mic got there as well. So Susan came in through. Hello, Nick. Are you there? So Susan came in through, let's say, the glamorous routes. Jennifer came in through the admin routes, and you came in through the I'm going to suck up to my cousin route, right?
No, not at
I
all.
came in the clueless teenager, didn't know what to do with his life, and Jennifer took me in and put me at ground zero, and I worked my way up from there.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, but what I did was I think because of what I had lacked in what I felt, to work from ground zero. Whenever I took on interns, I made sure that they had that foundation, so at least it was something I could give back.
Right. Yeah.
Very much so.
Wonderful.
Yeah, I remember when my first day at Filmbase, I didn't know how to make a cup of coffee for a director who just stumbled in, and then I said, Jen, how do I make a cup of coffee? Jen just stares at me like, learn. So okay. And that was that. That was my first day.
But talking about starting at ground zero, I mean, it's amazing. A lot of people have gone through our doors and who are directors these days. So it's nice to see, I mean, I won't name names, but there are a lot of them out there, and they all trace back to RK. I mean, a lot of them.
Yeah, you're a pioneer, Susan. You and
No. There were people before me, but
Yeah, there were, but it was still very, very early days. I mean, like the 80s and the 90s was perhaps the halcyon days of perhaps film production before the internet came out. Before video.
I wish I was born in that time.
Sorry, say again.
I wish I was participating in that time, because the golden days of all the stories I've heard compared to now.
What kind of
Tough
story?
now, I think, Nick. Yeah, I think it's very tough now.
Yeah, it's very tough. It's very accessible now. Back in the day, when you wanted to become let's just say a DOP, you had to start from the very bottom, ground zero. Nowadays, people graduating from college buy a camera. Look, I'm
Right.
a DP. Hire me.
Correct. Right.
Yep.
And I
They
think
shoot
it shows
from
in
their
the quality
phone
of
as
work.
well.
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can say it was good days.
Yeah,
We worked really hard, very difficult, but somehow or other it was really fun, yeah, Susan, wasn't it? I
Yeah,
mean, in
and
those
we
days,
had
everything.
we had the time to craft things as well, because with film you can't
Correct.
rush it. You can't say
Yes.
that you want to see it tomorrow. You have to process the film. You
Correct.
have to edit it. You have to cut the negatives. You have to go to the lab. And then once at the lab, which was quite nice, us going for trips, you brief them, you give them the materials, then you have about a week to walk around Jalan Kaki, and then you have to look at your check print, and if it's not right, then all the problems start. But I mean, it had its process, and
Susan, you were very
was
lucky
nice.
because you got to go to Japan to process film when I had
Yeah.
joined production. Unfortunately for me, Gaia Films was already operating and they were doing all the processing of our rushes. So I never
Yeah.
got to do all those glamorous trips to Japan, which
Yeah,
I also hear so much about.
Yeah, doing posts in Japan was great. Yeah, and I actually flew there for lunch one day because we needed films processed. So I flew it there and flew back. So
Yep.
those were the days.
Yes, yes. I
Going to
missed
Japan
it.
for post is a legend to me. It's something I can never imagine.
Well,
Yeah.
look
Neither
at
could
this.
I.
I want to show the picture here. Susan can tell us what is a karaoke bar in Japan, right?
No, it was in the lab.
No, it was in the lab.
Yeah, it was in the
Yeah,
lab.
karaoke
They
in the
have
lab.
like makan, and the Japanese like to drink and then come and sing.
What's that
This
guy's
was-
name, the owner of the lab that Albert always talks about? He was a great
No,
entertainer, wasn't he?
Not the owner of the lab, no.
Ah, okay.
The owner, I don't think I met. But the guy with me is Sato-san. He was like the guy. that used to
Sato-san, that's
come-
a very famous
Yeah.
name.
Yeah, he could
Correct.
speak English, and so he was always sent here
Correct.
to collect money from the Malaysians who hadn't paid him. But fortunately, for us, when the yen started going up, I made sure I paid. Every time he came, I made sure he had a check to go back. So he was very, very grateful. Until this day, I mean, if he comes, he will call us and look us up.
Wow.
You've met
And
him. You've met him,
I have.
Vernon, Sato-san.
I know.
Yes. Those days when I was singing at All That Jazz, yeah, remember?
Okay. Yeah, slowly coming back. Yeah. Those were the days. Like post-production was either Singapore, Australia, or Japan.
Yeah, Hong Kong as well.
Yeah. And
Later,
I think
when we went into video, we used to go to Hong Kong as well. But Australia and Japan, yeah, I
Yeah.
loved going. Yeah,
and
I
now
missed it all. I missed it all.
and now you know what's really, really amazing? Nobody goes anywhere. We all send it online, right? We send it through through email and stuff. Yeah.
Which is good and bad lah. Yeah. It's
Yeah,
great
I
that
mean,
we can do
it's-
things so easily, but well, all the fun is not there anymore.
It's taken the romance out of crafting. It's all
Yes,
through
yes.
push button, right? Yeah. Okay. I'm gonna say goodbye to you, Susan. And I'm gonna talk to Jen as well as
Okay.
Nick. But you're most welcome to hang back and join us later when we wrap up. Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Okay. So I'll just put you in our green room, so to speak.
Yes.
Okay, but don't turn the sound off. Yeah, I want to hear.
Okay. Yeah, definitely try not to. Yeah. Okay. Now how do I do this? Remove. Yeah. Okay. So here is the the mentor and the protege, and then I remove the protege, and we'll get him later on. And now we're with Jennifer, and I met you, Jennifer, 5,000 years ago when
My God.
when I was
You were-
15 and you were 14. I was
Yes.
15 and you were 14.
Correct. At Junior's 16th birthday.
No, not Junior. It's Dawn's. Your cousin Dawn.
Oh, and yes, I met you first. Correct. Yeah.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
you look like this little boy, and I thought, oh, it was safe to share a seat with you.
And then you realize.
And then you were a
How
year
natural.
older than me. Yes, I remember that. Yep, that was a long time ago, huh?
It was indeed.
Yeah.
Well, it was like, my God, I don't even want to count. So here we
know.
are, Jen. Yep. Here we are, Jen. Instead of sharing a seat, we're sharing the screen, right?
Right.
And
Right. And more.
and more. And
We share
very
nieces
much.
and nephews.
Exactly. We share nieces and nephews. Yeah. So for people who are listening, my brother married Jennifer's older sister. My older brother married Jennifer's older sister, and they have 4 kids who are our nephews and nieces. And I think
Yes.
you are the godmother of the one that I'm the godfather of, Adrian.
Yes, Joanne.
Joanne and Adrian, yeah, the twins.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay, so your background is Lazaro Hendroff Gomez.
Correct. Yeah.
Tell us a
So
little bit about that.
yep.
That's dad's-
My dad's side, my grandfather was Benedict Montero, and he married Blanche Hendroff.
Yep.
Wrong picture.
Wrong picture.
And
I want to put the picture first
Yes,
because it's such a
that's-
beautiful picture. Yeah,
She is,
it's your
isn't
joy
she?
in
My
retirement.
pride and joy.
Yeah,
Yes.
so beautiful. Your granddaughter. Yeah.
Yes, my granddaughter. So that's
So this is-
that's my mom and dad. So Francis Montero and Sally Lazaro,
Mm-hmm.
right? And so my mom is her mom is Miss Gomez, Anastasia Gomez,
Right.
and my father was Lazaro, my grandfather.
Your grandfather.
Yeah,
Your maternal
yeah, but-
grandfather, right?
My maternal grandfather. Yeah, but we lost my grandmother. My mom lost her when she was like 5 years old. So
When your mom was 5, yeah. Mhm.
when my mom was just 5 during the I believe the Second World War, and
Right.
then my grandfather remarried to Nicholas' grandmother. So Nicholas and I share the same grandfather, but
Yeah,
different
okay.
grandmothers. Yeah,
Okay.
but
Okay.
all this runny tree is always confusing.
Right. Okay.
Isn't that a
And this-
beautiful wedding picture? Look at the
It is,
bouquet.
Yeah. Yeah. It's stunning.
Yep.
Let's take a
Yep.
closer look.
And
it's
my grandfather, right? I can see my dad in him, and now I can see him in my nephews. You know, like Darren's sons. You can
Yeah,
see that
yeah.
Montero chop.
This is your grandfather.
Yeah. Yes,
Right,
the groom and my grandmother, right? I don't know who the rest of the people are really. I mean, it's so long ago.
And where was this? Do you know where was the location?
I know they had met in Kuala Lumpur. You know, my grandfather used to be the health supervisor he used to work in the abattoir.
Right.
But the thing is that we lost both our paternal and maternal grandparents before we were born, and I think before my parents were even married.
Okay.
On both sides, really, or maybe not my grandfather on my mom's side. So the whole family history thingy is quite a blur for us. You know,
Yeah,
we've been
yeah.
trying to trace things back, and we are still trying to do it. My sister is attempting to do it, so we'll see where we get from there.
Okay. Well, all the best with that. And,
Yep.
other surrounding people who might feel they might be connected should get in touch with you, right?
Yep. And yeah, I mean, as I said, I after working, and I've just been retired for a year and a half or 2 years, I'm just
Yep.
beginning to get a grip of my life. And with Elisha at the moment now, that's which I'm enjoying
let's
so
take
much.
another
That's where my
picture.
focus is.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Elijah.
yeah.
Look at her.
Elisha, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So then, this is you with your cousin.
Yes,
Little
when
girl.
I think we would have been about a year plus.
Right. Cool.
So that's
Okay. So then,
and
here are you with your son, Delvin,
yes.
right? And he's second assistant director on a shoot for Peugeot. So what year was
Yeah.
this?
Oh God, Vernon, I'm so, I'm losing it in terms of years. He would have been about, God, would have been about
I would-
18. I think
Mhm.
just after he came back from Australia. Yeah.
So you're already an executive producer in a production house.
Yes. Okay. Basically, after I was with JHA for 15 years, and I was basically in a way, running the whole of JHA, hiring and firing, and
Right.
then I was approached by my business partner then,
Right.
Poo Keng Hui, who owned another production house.
Right.
And he wanted to open another outfit, and we worked on a co-production together, and he just asked me about, everybody actually thought I had shares in JHA and that I was one of the partners, but I never did. So he told me, he said, look, I think you should think about doing this for yourself. And I said, I wasn't ready to leave Joe then, I mean, Joe was my mentor, and I enjoyed working with him, and he taught me literally a lot that I knew about production. But the time came when Joe started getting really involved with theater.
Right.
That's when KL Pact opened, and
Yep.
and he had to focus a lot of his energies there, and I was having problems bringing in more directors, and
Right.
keeping the directors. Actually, you build them up, and then they would work with you. You create a reel for them, and then they would leave. So that got me really frustrated and
Right,
sad.
Yeah.
So then
Yeah.
I decided, no, I think it's time that we parted ways.
Mhm.
So I called Pooh up and told him, look, I'm ready. That was about a year later, or 6 months to a year later, and we went in and we opened Film Base. But the funny thing is that for the next 2 years, Joe was basically my key film director, so it worked out well for all of us. So
Okay.
we closed JHA. So I made sure that I had closed the company, made sure that all the people we employed had jobs,
Yep.
that they all had somewhere to go to, and Joe was happy to do that because he was concentrating on KL Pact. But
Okay.
before my
Okay.
office was even ready.
Just for viewers, KL Pact is the Kuala Lumpur Performing Arts Center.
Oh, sorry, yes.
Was, Jennifer's boss, and he was a very well-known actor in Australia who came, relocated to Malaysia, married a Malaysian amazing woman, American, and they opened up KL Pact, which is the Kuala Lumpur Performing Arts Center, where the Actors Studio company is resident, and they're producing great theater, for the KL scene. Okay, and so therefore, you opened up Film Base, and can you share with us? So you joined JHA as a secretary, did you say?
As a personal assistant to Joe. Yeah, Jeff Millicham, who was another film director and the managing director.
Okay,
Yeah,
so you joined in an administrative role, like a PA.
Correct.
Yeah,
Yes.
just basically assisting the basic kind of like working needs. And how did you find your way into becoming a production assistant? What was it? What was the turning point? What was the, that tipping point?
Well, there was always this, I mean, every time the crew had come back on we used to have producers and stuff like that, and production assistants. Every time they came back from a shoot, they'd be so happy. They'd be talking about how exciting it was. And I always felt like, oh, I'm doing all the back work, production schedules and stuff like that. It was not much fun. So when I first joined production, I didn't know anything. I didn't know the technical stuff, like what telecine was and offline, which is, things that don't really happen anymore now. And so I started just taking the workload off Joe and Jeff, directors in those days used to do their own quotations and own production schedules. And I found that, I could do it. So I started doing that. And from there, I started just getting more and more involved. And then, we received this board. I remember it's for Wall's Veneta ice cream. And it looked very simple. It was just a promo, a 15-second promo.
Right.
And where you just get a hand coming in with a tray and just introducing the ice cream. It was just an introduction. And I thought, okay, this is easy enough. I could do it. So I asked Joe whether I could produce it. And, I did. And then that's how it all started.
So it was basically your initiative. You wanted to do more than you were
Yeah.
prepared to do, and
Yes.
you thought, "Hey, I can do that." So it was the initiative that led you from being a PA, a secretary, a PA, into becoming a production assistant.
Yeah,
And
I mean, yeah, I mean, I started a PA. Not long after
Yeah.
that, I was promoted to an office manager because I was handling. I mean, I was
Yeah.
secretarial based, you know, so I was pretty
Yeah.
organized, and I was handling
Yeah.
administration,
Yeah.
hiring and firing of staff
Yeah.
and stuff like that. So,
Yeah.
although I went into production, I never also let go of the admin part of my work.
Right.
So I was
Yeah.
kind of
Yeah. Yeah.
multitasking, so to speak.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Cool.
Yes.
And so, how do you feel about things these days? I mean, like, yeah, we talked about stuff, early on about how it has changed, how technology has changed us. Do you think there are certain qualities necessary today from your observations that are required from young people so that they can do well in this area? I mean, like you mentored Nick here. You mentored Nick, whom I'm bringing on, and he's not expecting me to do that, and his mic is off. You mentored him, and now he's a film director, right?
Yeah.
Tell me how you brought this fellow in. What was it?
Well, Nick has always been a very forward person, and I always looked at him and look at him. Doesn't he have a creative face? You know, I mean, can you imagine him being a teacher or something? You know, so and he always had this something about him that I thought, okay, I think he'd fit in somewhere in production,
Yeah.
and I think he's a very people person. That's the
Right,
first
yeah.
thing when you meet Nick, you would know about him, that he's a very
Okay.
people person. So I thought, okay, he would make a very good AD because he'll be a very good assistant talent director. He just had
Okay.
this thing about him, and Nick's really good with kids. Prior to working with us, he actually worked in a
Kindergarten.
child amusement center or something like that, where they took
Okay.
children, and so after he did his internship with me. All mass comm graduates have to do an internship and at production houses or agencies and stuff. So he approached me and I told him, yeah. So after he finished, I told him, Nick, when you graduate, come and have a look. So he came back and he joined us. And but when he first joined, I never really saw him as a production assistant.
Okay.
Because,
What did you say? A wrangler.
I always
wrangler.
when as the more I observed him, Nick was always more interested to be behind the camera. He would always like to talk to the talent, talk to the directors, get to know,
Okay.
and as I said, because he was a very people person, I always, whenever I don't know whether he knew this or not, but I would always put him up front and say, Nick, go and handle the talent, or go and tell the talent that, or go and talk to the directors to do
You mean
it.
that was your
And-
plan?
Yeah, it
Yeah.
was, because
Okay.
that's how when we did the Nescafe shoot, Nick, when we did a Nescafe with Justin, Justin and I observed, and he asked me about you, and I said, what are your qualities and where do I see you? That's what we do actually. We are interested to build young talent. Like the directors and I, we're always looking for young talent, young directors, somebody to continue the art of film directing or anything, even as an AD. You need good people in production, and we are always lacking. We have got a shortage sometimes. Production houses are overbooking, or the good ones always get taken up.
Okay,
So
I'm gonna try and posit something here because I used to work in the creative industry, and
Yeah.
usually when you meet up with a young person, somebody who's your junior, who impresses you with their quick mind, who impresses you because they think on their feet, there is a chance that you will want that person working with you because you know that you have somebody supporting you who's able to think on their feet without being told to do too much.
Correct.
Is that correct?
Yeah.
I think
in a way.
Is that kind of like, I like that guy in my team because he's quick thinking, because he's intelligent, because he's articulate. And I think that's what you saw That's what you saw in this
I
fella
always
here.
saw Nick as I said, as a people person. So I thought he
Yeah.
would be a very good to start off at AD and eventually, get on to be a film director. And I think Justin, as Nick said, he AD'd with him for many years. Justin saw that too, and we
Right.
were sitting down on the shoot, and he told me, "What about that fella?" I said, "You just observe him." I said, "He's good with, but okay, let's get him to handle the talent." Do you remember, Nick? So you were doing a lot of the talent direction. And
Jen, I remember that day very differently, Jen. Very differently.
because
You
you didn't
see
know
it
what
very
was going on behind the
Yeah,
scenes.
because you didn't know what was going on. Yeah.
This is all new to me. I'm sorry.
No, it's
This is all
fine.
new- this is new information to me. I remember that day very, very differently. But please carry on. I would love to know that.
Okay. Well, yeah. Let's go through. I'm gonna remove you now since we've bitched enough about you. Yeah. And we'll go back to I don't know. Yeah. Remove you. How do I remove you? Remove. Okay. Yeah. Okay. So we go back. We go back to the PowerPoint. So Delvin and Nick are the same age. Your son. Is that correct?
No, Delvin is I think about
Older.
5 years older to Nick.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
And-
yeah.
But Delvin never went into production, did he?
Well, I would always say over my dead body because it was such hard work, and I mean,
Yeah.
but funny enough, he always knew he wanted to be in advertising because as a
Right.
kid, I had so little time with him, and on weekends I promised to take him out, and then suddenly there's an offline revision that needs to be done. We need to
Yeah.
look at the edit, and agencies want to revise it. So I used to drag Delvin along with me for shoots,
Okay,
for
okay,
post-production sessions. From the time
Yeah.
he was a little boy, as young as 6, 7 years old. And
Okay.
Delvin was also, he used to do a lot of because he's mixed. So Delvin was typically a McDonald talent kid. He had that McDonald kid look, So he was exposed to
Right.
advertising from a very young age.
Well, I
Yeah,
remember
so-
putting him in one of my shoots many years ago, and he was a very, very, very young boy. He was like, I don't know, maybe like 3 years old or something. He may not
Yeah.
remember this, but
Yeah,
my
he's done-
art director was Reggie Lee, the famous cartoonist.
What job was
who
that? I remember
it was-
Reggie.
It was for Cellcom, I think. It was for No, it might have been for Fujifilm. I can't remember now. But yeah, Reggie was so taken up by Delvin. I remember that. Okay, and so we
Yeah.
move along. GHA was the first company you joined, and you went off on a trip to Langkawi, right? So those were the grand old days of when production budgets were decent. When
Yes.
people could be rewarded well. Yeah.
We could go for company trips every year,
Yeah.
And it started getting really difficult towards the end because the budgets just started shrinking so
Yes, correct.
drastically. Yeah.
And
And
here is
the-
Delvin with Joelle, your daughter-in-law, and
My
Alicia.
daughter-in-law, who also was the same as Nick, she also did a course in mass comm, and she did her
Right.
internship with me, and later she became my producer, my right-hand
Right.
lady actually. And
Fantastic.
so then when I decided to close Film Base, it was quite timely because Joella, after 7 years of marriage, she got pregnant and thought that it was a good time to start a family. And so now she's looking after Elijah. So we both do,
Okay,
So she's
wonderful.
now a stay-at-home mom. Yeah.
Right, and that's Albert there who gave Susan and Kumar their first job, as was told by Susan earlier in the show, right?
Yes.
Okay, wonderful. Yeah. So therefore, with regards to the media landscape back then, it was all wonderful. It's now become more competitive. I believe that's the general feeling, right?
It's competitive because as you say now, anybody with a handphone can even shoot a commercial. And I think the craft is gone. And I think mainly towards the end of, before I retired, just getting good people to work with you. The young kids that come in, they just didn't have they just didn't have what it took to be in production. I mean, they don't work, they don't think as much as we do. They all had the luxury of, you see, when we did production, the producer would have to do wardrobing, you'd have to go look for the props. We did everything. Sometimes it was a 2-person show. But now, you have an art director, an assistant art director, you have a wardrobe stylist, a assistant wardrobe stylist, a second assistant wardrobe stylist, and the list just goes on. So the budgets really started shrinking. But we've gone one full circle, because now I think in the way Nick and all work, because the budgets are so small, I think they have to work with a much, much tighter budget. So it's just a different formula, Vernon. Different way of doing things, To say it's easier, I wouldn't say it's easier. It's just different.
Different, yeah. I mean, like, I, for one, am sure that it no longer operates the way it operated when I was in advertising in the 80s and 90s, and a little bit of the early 2000s. It was, I can see how things have changed because of technology, because of how distance has died, the distance is no longer of any consequence. I mean, like, budget airlines, changed the game for that.
Correct.
So,
it's in the same manner. But the only thing is, although technology has made certain things faster, like animation takes faster, editing takes faster, but the demands of your clients get bigger. They become more demanding. So the stress level, to me, then and now, remains at par, really. Then, because you didn't have advanced technology, so time was of essence, because you had a air date to make. Now, but you had like maybe 2.5 months, 3 months to produce a commercial. Now they expect you to do it in 3 weeks. So the stress level is just different,
Yeah.
Nick will concur with that.
It's another world. Yeah. So Nick.
Yes.
Are you in a career? Are you in the career that you wanted to be from a very young age? Is this where it's at for you? Do you think you've arrived? I mean, like, you're a film director now. Do you think you've arrived? Do you think?
No, not yet.
Well, what would be your dream kind of like assignment?
Wow. To make just one piece of media, may it be a TV commercial, may it be a digital film, may it be a web film that just stands the test of time. I think that's ultimately what every film director would want, especially with Hollywood film directors. They make one film that will be remembered for all time. I guess I will not say I've reached that point until I've made that piece of content, whatever that content.
So you and I will sit down and we'll come up with the Surani epic romance. A swashbuckling Surani story about how, this Portuguese, sailor falls in love with a Malay maiden.
Let's do it.
Yeah. Okay. So now I'm gonna remove Jen. Jen, thanks a lot for sharing with us. Any final words that you'd like to say to anybody with regards
to production? I mean, everybody thinks it's a glamorous job. I mean, it has its niceties because you meet really great people. The creative process is challenging, but guys, it's really hard work, and you basically literally do not have a life when you want to do production, but there's a joy to it. And I think it's either you love it or you hate it. Yeah.
Okay. On that note, thanks a lot. And I'll see you again soon. Maybe with the family, maybe at some pub somewhere, right? Okay.
Yep.
And enjoy the rest of your weekend, Jen. Bye.
Take care. Bye, guys.
Bye, Jen.
Okay, Mr. Lazarou.
Yes, Mr. Amon.
So you were born long after MTV kicked off, because you were born when again?
7 years after MTV launched. 7 years.
1981, you're born 1988, right? Okay. And do you remember MTV in your life?
As a young boy, no, because there was only cartoons,
Okay.
Batman and Iron Man and Captain America and all that kind of stuff. MTV came much later when I hit my teens.
And when you did, yeah. And when
That
you
was
did,
about 2000-ish.
okay, 2000-ish.
Yeah,
When you
2000.
hit your teens. So what did it inspire you? Did you look to it for inspiration? I mean, did it actually give you an idea that this is what I want to do when I grow up?
To be fair, no.
Make
To be
music
fair,
videos?
no. I'm going to be very honest with you, but no. I did it for the very same reason I did mass communication. I just didn't know what to do. I knew I was pretty decent with people, and mass communication kind of fit. It kind of made sense. I couldn't see myself doing law or anything else, so just go into mass comm and see how it goes, and that led to internship time. What do I want to do for my internship? And working for Jen was one of the options, and it was the one I stuck with. And now, for better or worse, I'm stuck in it, and I have not left the industry since.
Okay, so how long have you been in the industry now?
I started with Jen when I was 19, and I am 32 this year in December. So
23 years.
yeah,
24 years. Coming to 24 years in production, in film production. But of course, in that process, working with Jen in a film production house, now you do not work in a film production house, right?
No,
So
I work in an agency.
Yeah, you work for an agency. And tell us about the agency and how it's different from working in a production house.
The agency is called Driven Communications. It does not specialize in video per se. It's a Swiss Army knife. It's got a lot of different departments to it. And I can see the process not really changed. I think the process, I mean, for me at least, I remember the old ways, and I try to keep to them as much as I can in terms of client and agency relationship, agency production house relationship, because those are the things that we cannot lose grasp of. The film is very important. I believe in it very firmly, and you need to have it, because if you don't, you lose your way. And it's just about moving with the times without forgetting where you've been. That's what I would say. Storytelling will be eternal. It's just how you do it changes.
Okay, so basically what you're saying is that the equipment and the medium changes, but the storytelling will still be the same. So you need to be able to tell good stories, and that will transcend the media.
Yep. Exactly.
Okay. And so you are related to the Monteros, D'Souza's, and Hendroffs.
Yes.
Lazarus is from Malacca, right?
I would believe so. So. The family tree is very bitter because very much like Jen's story earlier, grandparents died very early. They passed on very early. So my dad literally grew up an orphan, kind of, per se.
Yeah.
My mom's side, different story. Grandparents stuck around for a little bit longer. But that's my folks. That is Raymond Lazarus and Lee Shao-kin, my very not lookalike father, and my very young mother at the time. I think I knows. Yeah, that is a very happy grandmother. I was the first grandchild. I was her first, and probably her most disappointing because I speak no Cantonese at all.
You speak no Cantonese at all.
No Cantonese at all. Very little Mandarin. Very little. So I converse with her in Bahasa Malaysia.
Okay. Well, at least you converse. That's good. Where does she live?
She lives in Kuantan, so that's where we go for Chinese New Year.
Okay.
She's in Kuantan Park. She stays with my mother's youngest brother.
Okay.
Yeah.
And this is paternal side of your family, the Sarani
paternal
clan.
Side. Yep, the Sarani clan. That's my father holding me as a boy, as a baby. In front of him is Delvin. That is Jennifer's son.
Oh, okay, right.
Who
Yeah,
happens to be in the picture for God knows why. To his
Yeah.
right is my father's younger brother Francis, who is also my godfather.
right. Okay.
That is Jennifer's mother Sally, and her
Yeah.
oldest sister Cheryl, along with the twins Adrian and Joanne.
Yeah. And this
And
is
they
my
go-
connection to you.
Yep,
This is my connection to you, right?
yep. That is your connection to me.
Yeah, the twins, my nieces,
Yeah.
Adrian and
And your
Joanne.
sister-in-law.
You twins, yeah. Okay. And your maternal side, this is in Kuantan. No, this is in the hospital when you
this is in Asunta Hospital, PJ.
right when you're born.
So they
Okay,
came down all
lovely.
the way from Kuantan to see me. That's my grandmother, as you know.
Yeah.
My
This one,
mother,
yeah.
two brothers. That's Uncle Uncle Chiwai. That's on the right. The one holding me is Uncle Chiwai.
Right.
The one on the left, on the other side, is Uncle Chikit. So that's my mother's two younger brothers. The
Right.
lady next to Uncle Chikit is Uncle Chiwai's wife, I think, then
Right.
girlfriend, I think.
Right.
And then the names the names leave me, but that is my mother's auntie and my mother's cousin. John is the cousin,
Okay.
the small boy in the front, and my mother's auntie. I do not remember her name. I am so sorry.
Okay, your maternal side. Okay,
My maternal side, yeah.
lovely.
My
Lovely.
grandfather is not there for some strange reason. I never asked why, and I will ask
Okay.
after this.
Okay. And this is you, Clueless.
Yes,
What
that
year
is me.
one of your
This
first
is,
shoots?
No. This is when I was the first AD for Justin. I don't have any pictures of me as a production assistant because at the time, who had the money to buy cameras?
Yeah.
So yeah, this is me, a first AD in Jakarta somewhere. I think there was a problem, hence the look on my face. I think something was delayed, and I was thinking of a solution. Which at that point in time, at the point of this picture, I did not have that solution, so I was still thinking. I was muggling
Okay.
over it. Yeah.
Drama. Learning on the go. So this is
Yes,
a bunch of young people learning from Justin. That's Justin Moon, right?
Yes, that is
That's
my mentor, Justin Woon, as he's explaining to the DP, whose name is Alfonso Aguilar. He's from Mexico. That's a different story altogether, but we were on a job for a fabric softener in Indonesia. This is in Indonesia. So
So
I learned a
basically,
lot.
yeah, with film production work, there's a lot of learning on the go. Is that
There
correct?
is, yes, very much true. There's no better place to learn than learning on a film set.
And so that's why it's really important to kind of like always be thinking on your toes so you can absorb stuff quickly, right?
Thinking on your toes and learning to know when to shut up and listen. And this is one of
Okay.
them.
Okay. Very good. Not so clueless anymore. Haha.
Not
The camera.
It's the same. It's actually from the same job. Yeah, the camera. You see, according to Susan earlier, I've never shot on film, but that is a film camera, and I have shot
Okay.
on film. Very a handful of times, but it was an amazing experience, and it's very, very different to shooting on digital. Very.
Yeah,
very
well,
different.
the equipment is huge and gigantic and heavier, and spools of film and stuff. I remember in my first film work that I did in advertising,
Mhm.
how the film editing used to be on these Steinbecks, which is
Yes.
these trundling machines where spools of film just like rolled along,
Yeah.
and the film editor would have to wear white gloves so that she wouldn't cut her fingers on the edge of the sharp, plastic film, right?
Yeah.
Nowadays, you keep your hands very clean. I mean, it's just your keyboard and your data, and that's it.
That's true. We've come a long way.
Huge difference. Yeah.
Yeah,
Incredible.
huge difference. Shorter time spans now. I mean, back in the day, you had weeks to edit. Now you have a day or two if you're lucky.
Uh-huh.
So yeah, I mean, the stress never, like Jen said earlier, the stress has never changed. It's just the way you do things. It's just different now.
Yeah. Okay. Explain this caption, checking the gate.
Checking the gate. Checking the gate is a very old film term that Jennifer and I'm sure Susan will know. But this is the today's version of checking the gate, where you go through the footage and make sure you got everything.
Okay, so that's called checking the gate. When you go through the
Yeah.
footage, make sure you've got everything so that you have enough to edit a sequence together.
Yes, well, actually, checking the gate actually means something else. It's basically checking the gate to see whether the film gate, where the film runs through the camera, is clean
Right,
and there's
yeah.
no hairs or dust particles
Yeah.
in it. But it's just a term
Yeah.
that's just transcended time and space.
Right. Yeah. Okay. Cool. Cool.
Oh, I'm wearing the same hat too.
You are too. Yeah. And this, wow, you're looking very boss-like here with your spectacles.
Not really. That's just me explaining to the talent, the kind gentleman on the right, on what is going on, what he's doing, and what he's saying, and so on and so forth. So, yeah, I mean, it's part and parcel of being a film director. You have to talk to talents and make sure that you get what you need from them on the day.
Yeah.
Make sure they
Yeah.
transcend, they portray the right message, and so on and so forth. One of the many
Yeah.
joys.
Yep. I think it's very important, right, to be able to communicate well and clearly so that people can follow instructions and you're clear about what you want and what to achieve. I guess that's quite important in the area when you're collaborating with various other people to pull a project together.
Most definitely.
Yeah.
Can't
Yeah.
say anything else, but yeah, very important.
Okay, excellent. I actually have you sent me some videos, okay? But it's going to be difficult for me to play this because the last time I played anything pre-recorded, there was no
No
sound.
worries. No
I'm not
worries.
even going to. I'm gonna tag it onto. I'm gonna tag on the URL so that if people want to look at it, they can.
Sure thing.
Yep.
Sure thing.
Yep. Okay. I can see Jennifer is still here. Susan is not, but she might be listening to this. Oh, here she comes. Okay, Susan. So I'm going to bring all of you back in for a final goodbye. Okay. Add to stream.
Hi,
Okay.
Susan.
So we went through a very quick run through of Nick Lazaru's journey in film, starting as a production assistant with Jen, and then now a film director in his own right, working on an online, mostly on online medium, right? So your work is seen. Do you want to share where the website is? Because Driven Communications is.
To be fair, my work is not on paultan.org. My work is mostly with the clients that I service, and
Okay.
there are too many of them to name. I just have to share the link and in the near future. There's no way I can name all the work that I've done so far.
Okay, no worries then. Yeah. Okay. So basically, paultan.org is one of the stars in the same stable as your company, as what you do. Is that correct? So what I'm trying to say is that most of your work goes onto websites and through the internet.
Yes, mostly YouTube and Facebook.
Right. And this is the medium that we all, well, I mean, those who want to take advantage of opportunities need to really understand. So here I am, Uncle Vernon, trying to get with webcasting. So maybe one day, I can also kind of like do stuff like you, Nicholas. Okay, Susan, thank you so much for joining us from 70s into the 80s
welcome.
and the 90s. Yep. And entering the media through the glamorous side and angling with the best of them, right? And Jen, coming in as a secretary and realizing, you can do all this and having the guts and gung-ho to say, give me the job, and then getting it and being able to run, your own film company. Wonderful. And then there's Nick, who is completely clueless as to what he wants to do and wanders into production through his cousin, Jennifer, and stays on. And that's where you are, and that's where you're making your money now. So I'd like to say that these are three surrounding people, who made good and are doing good in media, right? And basically that is the I wanted to share with people. And of course, Russell Curtis, whom nobody heard because I goofed up with that technicality. and Nick is going to help me re-edit that bit together, right?
Okay, sure.
Okay. Yeah, thank you. So, ladies, gentlemen, thank you very much for joining me. May we all continue to do well, stay healthy, and stay blessed.
Okay, bye
Bye,
bye.
Thanks for having us, Vernon. Bye, guys.
Bye bye.
Bye, Susan.
Bye bye.
Bye, Susan. Bye, Jen.